This moment in time, you're currently under arrest for making off without payment. You don't have to say anything,
but I haven't made off.
You don't mention one question to the little line. Oh, anything you do is significant evidence.
But I haven't made off, though.
For your arrest as your confident factual investigation.
Welcome to Candid Cops UK. Real stories, real duty. Life behind the badge.
This episode is brought to you by iSpy Audits. Be sure to check the link below, subscribe to his channel, and give him the credit he deserves. In this episode, Auditor iSpy stops at a BP petrol station to refuel and attempts to pay with a £20 coin issued by the Royal Mint. Legal tender in the UK. What should have been a straightforward transaction quickly escalates. Staff refuse the coin, call the police, and instead of de-escalating, officers intensify the situation, arresting iSpy despite no crime being committed. That reckless decision later backfires, as iSpy takes the matter to court and secures a substantial payout. From the moment she arrives, the officer demonstrates her lack of suitability for the situation. The auditor immediately notices her body-worn camera and asks why she has not declared it. Guidance is clear. Officers must inform members of the public that they are recording at the earliest opportunity. Instead of acknowledging this, she outright denies the requirement exists. Her next step is equally flawed, pressing the auditor for his name. Yet this is not a criminal matter. It is a civil disagreement between him and the petrol station. There is no legal basis to demand identification where no offense has been committed. Whether through ignorance or deliberate disregard, her actions are unacceptable for admission. The officer acknowledges it is a civil dispute, then attempts to invent a power to demand identification, claiming it would resolve matters later. That is not how policing works. Without suspicion of an offense, there is no authority to compel details. She cannot transform a private payment disagreement into a police-enforced ID check simply because the retailer is dissatisfied. Her claim that the auditor could be circulated as wanted was pure bluff. Wanted markers apply to criminal matters, suspects, warrants, failures to appear, not civil contract disputes. Threatening a criminal designation to force compliance is a misuse of authority and proof she had no lawful footing. If she genuinely suspected a crime, she was obliged to test the elements: dishonesty, making off, and intent to avoid payment. Here, the auditor remained, attempted to pay, and disputed the method. The auditor was still inside, making no attempt to leave, openly disputing the payment. There was no making off without payment because he had not left, nor was there intent to avoid paying. The fact he had already tried to pay with a £20 Royal Mint coin, refused by the cashier, destroys any suggestion of avoidance. Under the Theft Act, both the act of leaving and intent to evade payment must be present. Neither applied here. By twisting the situation into a criminal matter simply because she lacked his details, the officer exposed a fundamental myth to run off without paying. That moment never occurred. He remained inside, engaged, and had already attempted payment with a Royal Mint coin. They were not responding to his actions, but to a scenario they had imagined. That is not law, it is fiction. Their claim that they could not confirm his identity without forcing ID was equally weak. His vehicle registration was outside, a lawful and immediate way to confirm details if necessary. Instead, they ignored that option and doubled down on demands they had no authority to make, twisting a civil disagreement into grounds for arrest. They were not resolving the issue, they ended the matter. Instead, the officer escalated, insisting he call BP directly or else it would become a police matter. That is absurd. He had no legal duty to assist her in that way, and refusal does not create a criminal offense. The role of the police is to assess facts and apply the law, not to shift the burden onto the citizen to prove himself. Her follow-up remark, "We don't know that coin," only worsened her position. A £20 Royal Mint coin is legal tender. If she and her colleagues failed to recognize it, that was their problem. "I haven't made off." That single line should have ended the matter. The offense requires someone to actually leave without paying. He had not left, was not attempting to leave, and made that clear. Yet they pressed ahead with the arrest. Legally, it is indefensible. The Theft Act requires two elements: leaving and intent to permanently avoid payment. Neither existed here. The auditor had already offered valid payment and remained engaged in the dispute. The alleged offense simply did not exist, and the officers knew it. Now, iSpy provides an up to £99 payout plus legal costs. That is no small sum. It is a serious amount for an incident that should never have occurred. It highlights how weak the police's position became once subjected to legal scrutiny. They knew they could not defend it and had no choice but to settle. Yet, according to the auditor, the chief constable, the head of the force, never offered an apology. They handed over thousands of pounds of taxpayer money, acknowledged wrongdoing financially, but failed to show the basic professionalism of admitting fault. That silence speaks volumes. It reveals a culture where saving face outweighs accountability, and public trust is treated as expendable. This case exemplifies how minor civil disputes can spiral into misconduct when officers lack knowledge of the law they are sworn to uphold. A simple disagreement over a coin, something that should never have involved police, escalated into wrongful arrest because ego and authority replaced common sense. That is not policing, it is bullying in uniform. The officers invented justifications as they went along, repeatedly warning, "What if you walk out without paying?" despite the auditor never suggesting he would. They built their case around a scenario that existed only in their imagination. That is not enforcing the law. It is twisting reality to fabricate grounds that do not exist. This behavior reflects a deeper cultural issue: intimidation used as a shortcut for policing. Instead of resolving matters with patience and knowledge, they resorted to threats, detention, and arrest. When officers lean on fear instead of facts, it erodes public trust in the entire system. If this can happen over a coin, it can happen over anything. The aftermath is equally troubling. Nearly 4,000 pounds of taxpayer money was paid out, yet not a word of apology from the chief constable. That silence is not just arrogance. It is an admission that they prefer to bury mistakes with cash rather than confront failure. It shows exactly where priorities lie: protecting the image of the force, not correcting the behavior of its officers. That concludes today's video. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps me continue independent coverage. Also, check out I Spy Audits. His channel is linked in the description. Show him your support. Thanks for watching.